Okay, so good morning, everyone. It's Friday. It's the 11th of August. We're almost approaching halfway through the month, which is incredible. I want to talk today as we, as a collective group of launch partners, about a critical subject that I think certainly needs addressing. I want to begin by sharing an experience that I had in building the business just last night. I had the chance, I co-hosted a meeting just south of London last night, a wonderful 5-hour drive from my home. But we had a great team there. It was a business training that we did. We did a business preview. We went through some training on how to give testimonials for the product, and then also how to get started in the business. And one thing that really struck me pretty strong was as people come into the business and are new, but also perhaps even more critically, those of us that are already in the business that are looking to move forward, there seemed to be some confusion or uncertainty as to how best to start, how to get going, how to start with strength. And I want us to touch upon that this evening, or this morning for US time, of course, because as we look at the people that are joining our weekly calls, what we really need to see more of is new people showing their faces. It's great to have the regulars, and we're thankful for that. We need you, and what have you. We value the support and the teamwork, but we do need to have new people that we're meeting with joining these calls. I have a call on Tuesday, just as a side note, that I do for the UK team, and no one is allowed on it as a distributor unless they have a guest with them. If they don't have a guest, they're not on the call, because the whole call is designed for them. Much of the calls that we have, excluding this one, because this is for launch partners, but the other calls that we have throughout the week are tools that prospects can enjoy, new people can enjoy, as well as existing teammates. So what I'd like to do is perhaps just pass the time over to Bernadette. Bernadette, if you want to unmute your line, I've asked Bernadette just to join us here and share some of her thoughts on getting people started strong. Bernadette's been a great example of that in her Niken business. And so, Bernadette, can I pass the time over to you and you can share some insights on this critical subject?
Absolutely, and I think that's such an important topic, Ben. And I think, you know, we very often we talk about becoming a product of the product and becoming the best advocate that we can be. And I know we know that this group knows this. So it's about really making them, getting them the experience and the confidence in the fastest way that we can. So as much, you know, a lot of emphasis in the last little while was on the consumable of that, but what is the core of our foundation? You know, we talk about biological need of the body, it's sleep, water, warmth, food. Well, then let's do this as well. So from getting started is, what is the best way that somebody can get that conviction, personal conviction, is to get them started on as much product as they can. And that's really what this is about. I was talking yesterday to somebody, I mean, the last 2 days, actually, I brought on board 2 new people, and we talk about how do you get started. First of all, I talk about what it is that they want to improve for themselves, health-wise, because it's important to take care of their needs. That's very important. And then I said, you know, is if you do want to give that message, let's make sure that we bring that conviction ASAP. So really looking at embracing the whole concept of healthy living. And that's when we go into the product category. And I have to tell you, I mentioned on the aligning call Monday, 85% of the people who start in our team, and even customers as well, they start with the sleep system and the water, and then we add on the accessories. Why? Because we know that's what's going to give them the fastest results in the shortest time, but also the longest impact for themselves and building belief. You know, little product will give little results. And while I said that's the best way you can get started. So that's very important, the product order for themselves and for the business. And I also talk about this is an investment in your health, but an investment in your business the same way. So instead of looking at spending money, it's investing. And the moment we use that word, there's a huge shift in people's mind. And I think that's really important to be careful about the language that we use. getting started. And then immediately, I actually have a young man, Joshua, who just joining, and we went through that conversation. I gave him the packet, the tools that were introduced in Orlando. So I gave him that packet, and the first thing that I pull out is the names list. And really saying there's no reason why you couldn't start making money this month. And the other thing is, I say to people don't know what they don't know. They rely on me to show them what they can do. Too often, I think we're shy. The field is shy of taking the lead. We say, I'm going to give them time to decide. I'm going to give them time, to learn about this. I say, they don't know. They don't know what they can do. So my role is to take the lead. And I feel very strong. So we're having another conversation. I'm having another conversation with him on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, because by that time he would have worked on his list, and we're going to go to work immediately this month. Because I want to show him it's simple. It's not complicated. And in the meantime, we'll have another sit down, another conversation when we work with the tools, because that to me, those tools are so fantastic, but it's a matter of putting them to action immediately. And because I also very aware of what I'm showing him today is what he's going to duplicate. If I show him it's simple, he can get to work now. That's what he's going to think that anybody can do.
Yeah, I really like that, Bernadette. Can I just share a couple of thoughts on that as well?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that each of us, regardless of how long we've been in the business, could perhaps look back over the years and still remember some of the first lessons we were given when we joined as consultants. What were some of the first messages that we were told by our sponsor? That, I think, of all the lessons that we learn in the business, the first ones stick. So what Bernadette said there, I think, is really powerful, that we want to help them invest in their business in a meaningful way as quickly as possible. One, because it helps them get started strong. I love what she said when she said, we want you to be earning money in your first month. That has to be a strong goal for everyone. I think that's really important. But also, I'm going to take a perspective that I had when I was president of NICA. What I saw then was that the sale of the high-ticket items, such as sleep or water, always had a correlation with recruitment numbers. There was always a correlation there. What does that mean? What does it tell us? It tells us that people that are starting right typically invest in the big-ticket items if they're starting strong. And Bernadette hit the nail on the head in saying, we've got to look at this not just from helping them have the best impact on their health, not just investing in their business to get started strong, but if that duplicates, what does that do for people throughout the organization when people are moving the sleep and water products consistently with new distributors coming in, investing in their business, investing in their health, sharing it with their other customers, getting others to do the same? That would just flourish tremendously. So, Bernadette, fantastic advice there. I want to ask Mike to jump in now as well and share some thoughts. The other point that struck me very clearly last night when I was with my UK team was the importance, two things: the importance of using the tools that are available, knowing that they're there, sharing them with our team so that they know, and knowing how to use them. And one tool in particular that really stood out in desperate need of better use was the 90-day planner. So, Mike, can I ask you to perhaps unmute your line and share some thoughts around that?
Yeah, I'm on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can hear you good.
Okay, great. Obviously, we're sort of a call to basics, fundamentals. I know in some of the dialogue we chatted between us, myself, yourself, Bernadette, and Bernadette pointed out that the consultants are far too shy about leading the way, about being in charge, about assuming your role and your capacity as a leader. I think it's really important, first of all, to identify with that, because first and foremost, the people you're introducing this to, the people who you're being asked to lead when you enroll somebody, they don't know any more than you do. They certainly don't. And so even if you're a day older than them, you probably have more knowledge than they do. So it's really important that we duplicate leadership. This is what this whole launch platform is about learning how to excel in being a leader. And a leader, as far as I'm concerned, does two things very proficiently. They give the people they enroll the best start they know how to at any stage of the game in your career weekend. So if you're brand new, you know how to give somebody the best start you know how to at that point. You guys, on the other hand, have had a lot of training, a lot of background, so you know how to give people a better start because you have that information. But it's one thing to know something in your head, intellectually. It's completely different to own it in the core of your being, in your spirit, because you've got to experience it. So if you haven't taken the initiative to launch somebody in the best way you know how, using the 90-day plan, then you don't own it. And so at some point in time, if you're going to excel in this business, this is one of the things you must own. The second thing is the ongoing development, the personal development, both as yourself and as a member of the team, to encourage personal development and growth. Those are really the two things in the business: giving somebody the best start possible, and then providing and plugging into a mechanism for ongoing development and growth, because we all have to take personal responsibility once we've got the training wheels off our business. So your job is to help somebody get somebody started with the training wheels. We put together a tool that encapsulates the strategy, the process, the how to initiate action in that $1 million list on one side that Bernadette was just talking about. And on the flip side of that is the strategy chart. I'm going to do something here. Ben, are you able to give me the ability to share content?
I am. Right. I've got the strategy chart up if you want me to just...
Oh, perfect. If you wouldn't mind, then just go ahead and bring the strategy chart up.
Yeah. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Fabulous. Okay. So what we have in this chart is really the entire business launch strategy on one page. Everything from the written text on the left-hand side, which we're first charged with the task of helping them find some people, some core people, those 1, 2, and 3 circles that are triangulated. There's a triangle around those 3 circles because that denotes somebody, and at the bottom of that left-hand side, it means something specific. It says, hey, these guys, they're not just people on your team. They're not just people that you enrolled. They're people who have made a 3-fold commitment to time, money, and contacts. Time in the time to launch the 90-day plan. Money in the way of their initial investment, which Bernadette's just talked a little bit about, especially when it comes to sleep and water. And the third is their list, their commitment to contacting the people that they know. And so even if you have your list on a cell phone, transferring that information over to that sheet, the $1 million list, enables you to do one thing further, enables that new person to qualify that lead so that they start thinking about that person in the terms that we're asking them to think about them as. Are they entrepreneurial? Are they influential? Do they have the resources to get their business started? Do they live nearby, locally, or are they a long distance? Because that influences how we're going to approach this with each person. It takes the business to a level of business. Business people expect to make money. Everybody else doesn't. And so, are you treating this like a business? Are your people treating this like a business? Or is it just a, let's try it. Let's see if it works. Let's hope. It's a wishful thought. It's a lottery ticket now that I'm plugged into this possibility. I mean, how you treat this is going to determine exactly what you get back. What you put in is what you get back. So if you put in the right intention, if you put in the right frequency, if you put in the right energy, if you shape it in your thoughts and in your mind, then what comes back to you is all the things that this business opportunity can bring to you. I remember being asked years ago, how come, Mike, most of the people in your organization look like professionals? I said, because I'm professional. It's a reflection of me. And that's what you want to be, professional about it. So this tool gives you the mechanism to appear professional. The second you pull it out and put it on a table with your newly enrolled person, or the person that you're even introducing this to, so that they know you actually have a plan. You do have a strategy. Once they get involved, it's not that you're just trying to get them involved. It's that you've got a business plan that you want to roll out. That's why you want to get them involved. They're part of that plan. So on this chart, on the right-hand side, shows the process. Now, my experience in time and time again, I'm finding Many of you are not following the process. You don't even know where you are in the process when you put me on the phone call with an ABC. I'm having to ask you what's been happening, where they at, to evaluate what stages, if you're following this, they're at in order to be able to move them to the next level, which is the role of the A. The role of the A is to keep them moving down that process, keep them on that pathway moving forward. That's pretty much all an A does. It's somebody who helps that person get to the next level. So if you're not following a process, you're not going to get the results that we know we get with consistency. And the other piece of this is, if you're not following a process, how are you going to teach people a process? So again, it's been characterized in words, and when you experience this, you will start to see the benefits, the fruits of it. So this tool, this one page, and on the flip side of it, in my opinion, of all the tools we have, does what it needs to do in order to help get engagement, focus, direction, create a business mindset to tackling the job, and clearly defines what we need to learn in terms of business skills. Those 3 conversations are skills that you will learn as you get involved in delivering that, or have an A deliver it for you. But as you find, if you move people through this process, through those 3 conversations, and then get them to some form of a lock-in event, you will find that the sifting process that this talks about, whether they're a customer or whether they're a partner, which is a very different thing than a consultant. So those 3 options, customer, consultant, partner, or of course, maybe they refer you to somebody, then that's really what will happen through the course of this dialogue. So I just want to encourage everybody to revisit this tool, keep it with you, carry it with you, present it in your 3rd stage. I'm going to be doing a presentation, not this Monday, the following Monday, on all the tools that we put out, what everyone does, when to pull it out, what to use it for, how to lever it, so that you have a better understanding of its application. But this particular tool is the one that I pull out in the 3rd conversation. When they ask me, what does it take? Or when I suggest to them, they now need to know what it takes to succeed. This is the tool I pull out.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Mike. Really important that we make full use of this. I'm just reading a note here from Yoko. Always start strong with solutions for them. A really, really good point there. I think it's important that we do provide this. This isn't something that we necessarily introduce after they've joined. I find helping people see perspective of what is required of them before they get started is really important to that process. And filling this in with them also helps give them confidence to start strong. This can be a great tool to help them make the final decisions about, yes, I'm going to start and I'm going to do it properly. So that when they sign the contract, they're already going through their millionaire list, $1 million list. They're already putting these plans in place. I think that's really helpful that we understand that. And when you link that with what Bernadette said earlier on the call, with helping them not just have the strategy like Mike's talked about, but then help them know whereabouts to focus within the product mix to have the best possible start and the best investment in their success, creates quite a winning formula. I want to invite everyone, along with, on behalf of Mike and Bernadette as well, to pull this document out, to really study it, get familiar with it, so that when we are speaking with people, we know what we're doing. Sometimes we don't use a tool because we haven't taken the time to familiarize ourselves. We might hear about it on a call, we might look at it and go, that makes sense, that's great, but we don't become comfortable with it. Doesn't become second nature to us until we've thoroughly explored it, gone through it ourselves, put ourselves through that process. One of the best ways to help someone else do their 90-day plan is for us to do our one first. And whether we're brand new or whether it's simply the next 90 days for us, I think it's important that we do that. So I would encourage everyone to get that chart out. I can see Barbara's got it out already, which is fantastic. Get these charts out. It's filled in. Get it filled in. Start working it so that we can have confidence in sharing it with others. There is a quadrant that I was introduced to when I was doing a course through work a number of years ago for managers of managers. And there was a quadrant that they shared with us, which starts out in quadrant 1, where you are unconsciously incompetent. The second quadrant is when you become consciously incompetent, meaning you now realize what you don't know. The third quadrant was when you become consciously competent. And then the fourth one was when you become unconsciously competent. And I'll give you an example of going through that cycle. A teenager getting their driver's license. Before they get their license and start learning, they watch you as the grown-up driving the car, and they go, oh, this looks easy. You steer it, put it into gear, put the brake on, speed up. How hard can it be? And then they get behind the wheel, and they start getting lessons and then learning all the theory, and they get nervous, and they get intimidated, and they suddenly become aware of what they don't know. Then as they progress and as they learn, they get a little bit more confident and competent, but it's very conscious. You see them holding the steering wheel at the 10-2 position. They're very deliberate about that. Everything they do is deliberate. They're focused on it until they get comfortable and it becomes fluid. It becomes second nature. And then before you know it, you're driving down the street and you go, how did I get to where I am? I wasn't even thinking about it. And we're there already. We're subconsciously or unconsciously competent with the skill. The same applies here with these tools. At first, we can look at it and we can hear it on a call like this and be unconsciously incompetent. We can look at it, oh, that makes sense. It's quite straightforward. It's easier to use, not a problem. But we haven't really put it through the test yet. We need to put it through the test and realize when we do, there's going to be some things that we go, oh, that wasn't how I expected. I need to learn that a little better. I need to do this with a bit more strength, and so on, and then move through the process. And how do we do that? We want to get to the point where we are unconsciously competent. And we do that through a massive amount of repetition. I love that little corner of the page where it uses that law of thirds, where it's got there, you speak to 81 people in order to get your 9 people signed up. And why do we have the 9? Because we know that law of thirds applies even beyond that. Those 9 people that we sign up, 3 people will probably be very strong. That's what we've got to go through. We've got to go through that process. But the more we do it, the better off we'll be. We want to be unconsciously wonderfully competent at doing this. Mike and Bernadette, I think, are fantastic examples of that. It rolls off their tongue when they're in the zone, when they're talking with people. It's instinctively natural and skillful. They're like that because they've done it over and over again for years.
Ben, can I add something?
Yeah.
Just to add to what you're saying, quite often I say, the tools as they've been made, I mean, they just really are a very excellent summary of all the fundamentals of the business and what we're supposed to do. And one thing that I say to my team is, just imagine that I'm having a dinner at home and then you say, oh my God, I'd love to have that recipe of the dish and so on. Will you give me the recipe? I say, absolutely. And I give them the recipe to the T. Then they go back home and they call me 2 days later and say, oh, Bernard, it didn't taste at all the same thing. And I said to them, well, did you follow my recipe? Yeah. To the T? Well, not quite. I took one spice away, or instead of using lamb, I used chicken or whatever. Well, this business is a recipe. Those tools, it's a recipe. And I say to people, you can't expect the same result if you don't embrace everything. It's not just 99.99%. It's 100%. And that is sometimes what human nature says, okay, I'll try it. But we don't do it all. We just do a little bit of it, not everything. And I think that's really the message that we have. It's about embracing the whole thing and learning. And, and when we do that, it becomes a habit. At the beginning, it's awkward, but then it becomes a habit. And then it becomes exactly what you're talking about, which is becoming unconsciously competent.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Bernadette. It really is. I love that point. We've got to embrace everything. Give this a go. Get familiar. Practice, practice, practice. One point that I'll finish on this. I've always applied to myself is if I can't teach a principle, then I don't know it well enough. That's kind of been my measuring stick. If I can hear something or read something, But for me, whenever I read, and my wife always is surprised that 99% of my reading is on business, personal development, marketing, all that kind of stuff. It's all self-improvement related. I find it hard to pick up another type of book sometimes. But I always read it with the intent of teaching someone else. And it's interesting because educational psychologists have proven now that we learn at an accelerated rate when we do it with the intent of teaching others. So what I would suggest is get this tool out, review it and read through it with the intent of teaching someone else. When you do that, you'll learn it better. You'll also learn it faster. But that, I think, would be some great homework for this weekend to do that. And then it would be great to hear perhaps on next week's call if we've had the chance to put that into practice and what our experience was. So maybe that's the agenda for next week's call. What was your experience with this 90-day program, this 90-day planner? So any thoughts, Mike, before we close? Oh, one sec.
Yeah, I'm good. I just wanted to say we could have written a book. Most other networkers or network marketing companies, they have those 40 and 50-page quick start manuals. But I don't think we want one of those. What we have, as Bernadette pointed out, is the encapsulation of all the concepts in a working document. So it's a document that both teaches and you can utilize to work, to develop. So it's the best of all worlds in the most condensed form. We're trying to minimize the footprint of how many things we use, the tools that we use. We want just the most efficient tools in our toolbox in order to get the job done. So I know personally, if I was going to open a new country, say, the very first thing that I would need to do before I talk to anyone is design the tools that would be appropriate to duplicate. Otherwise, I would have nothing to teach these people, because from the moment I open my mouth and start moving them into the process, everything I'm using as a tool is what they're going to need as a tool to duplicate. And I wouldn't want to talk to somebody if it wasn't for the intention of duplicating. You see how it works? So you've got to have it in front of you. It's got to be part of the process that you're utilizing, so that from the very beginning, a person sees that you are leveraging a tool that they too can learn how to do. Not everybody is an unconscious competent. It takes time to get there, but with these tools, as Ben pointed out, and repetition, you naturally become that, and everyone you're engaging with can see that you don't have to be an expert if you're going to lean on these tools.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, I hope this has been a help, everyone. It's always good in my eyes to have a little bit of homework, to have an assignment, to do something, to apply. So I encourage everyone to take this homework to heart. Let's all move through that process so that we can help others do the same. I am desperate to see more people, more new people, joining our weekly calls, hearing from their testimonials, learning from their experience as they are going through these first few steps. This is where it all begins, right here with us. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll speak to you again real soon. Take care, everyone.